Are you getting the support that you need? I share in a blog today about how I'd struggle to go and get the support when I need it because I never remembered to ask people for the support. And something happened this week that made me realize, oh, I've gotten much better at this. Well, the support didn't come from one place. For me, I'm a person who needs to process verbally. So I need to speak my mind. And through a series of conversations, I realized what's going on for me right now. And then last night I went to a Toastmasters meeting, and Toastmasters meeting are always very inspirational for different reasons. But we had a speaker last night who talked about what I'll say is the fallout from the pandemic. Because while the pandemic is technically over and we're learning to live with COVID, for some of us, that's still easier than for others. It also brought me back to a question that I'd heard at a recent training that I'd done. So the speech last night, he was talking about all the different things that happened to us through the pandemic and how now people are really reacting and sometimes overreacting to things. So he had some pretty simple examples like someone cutting him off in traffic and him getting really upset and still being upset in the evening and realizing that's not something he wants to do. It was just one incident. He could have let it go. And that was really the point to his speech. And what it brought me back to was this question I received in training. And we were talking about personality assessment. So you know that the first section of my book talks about understanding yourself, so knowing your personality. And we were talking about being introverted or extroverted. And one of the people in present raised her hand and said, Lisa, is it possible that your introvert and extrovert scale moved because of the pandemic? And I sort of paused on that one and I thought, I think that on the scale we can move with our age, and sometimes we need more alone time as we get older or don't have as much energy. For others, we're just that extrovert is always extrovert and the introvert is always introvert. But I think we can shift slightly on the scale. However, my answer to her was this. I don't think that if you changed after the pandemic happened, I'm not sure that's an actual shift in who you are more than somewhat of a trauma response. Now, I'm not trained in this, so I can't speak to this, and maybe someone can respond who is trained in it. But I think we all felt trauma through that. And in this speech last night, this gentleman was telling me about he lived in a country at one point that was a very dangerous country to live in. And so there was regular home invasions. And if you went to a restaurant, there was a good chance you were going to get mugged on the way out. And so he really was in danger all of the time. He lives in Canada now, safe, doesn't have all of that. And he said, I was really living in a period where things, could make us stay home. He said, but we didn't. We fought that by getting out and being with people and being social. And that's important. And that was taken away from us. So we had this pandemic where what we'd normally do is we'd go and we'd be with our friends and we'd talk about what was scaring us, and we didn't have that. Yes, we had Zoom and other things, but we didn't have that. And so it's almost made us feel like we have to take these things on ourselves. And so when I spoke to the person, I said, we need to look at, do you have fears or anything that's stopping you from still going out? And I think we need to be aware of that now. Are you staying in because you want to stay in and that's your personality? Or are you staying in because you just got used to it? Or are you staying in because you're still afraid of going out in the world? And if it's the latter, maybe it's time to start pushing yourself to go out a little bit more. Either way, we need to go and find the support that we need. Like I said, I talk about it in a blog today. And if you're on my weekly email, I share in my weekly email how I've seen how far I've come in learning how to go and ask for that support. So whatever you're dealing with right now, go and get the support that you need so that you can move forward in your life and you can maybe pass some things off and get the help that you need.